We'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Thank you everyone for coming. I want to move the group proposal down after the legislative update, and let's go ahead with that.
Just real quick, bills have final numbers now. The same as the House docket, Senate docket bills, no change there. Building co-sponsors, I think there's a net of roughly 30 or maybe 50. I can't remember, I guess it's 50 in total, net. So, but again, it's the same bill that got rewritten last year, got out of committee, and then never went anywhere. So I think it's safe to say that nobody's really too fond of the bill, but at this point, they just want to try to get something taken care of. So we'll see early stages. Hopefully get hearings earlier now if they make the rules changes. They get the public hearings sooner, maybe get it out of committee sooner, maybe get more time to debate it, in the House and the Senate. So no change.
Well,
so they'll say 3 highest years reimbursed basically without it.
3 up, 3 down. And last Thursday morning, Steve, Brian, and myself were at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and I had warned the executive director ahead of time that I was going to be raising a question during the questions period. And I don't think that our state senator is very happy with me now, but did raise the question over the streaming bill, and he danced his way through an answer, but basically didn't say anything. So, and then buttonholed me for a few minutes afterward. But basically, it's just status quo right now that this is the 4th time this bill has been up before the legislature in both houses, and probably will be given the same runaround that it's been given 3 times before, but we shall see. So hopefully we can do some stuff in the background and get it moving. So that's where we are with that. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Ian?
So with discussion from a bunch of the board of directors and people at WCAT, we had, given what we know that we want this to be, and I guess the simplest word, we had 2 things that we would really like the group to focus on as one of the last things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And those 2 things are, I'm just going to read what was written by everybody. In conjunction with the move of the WCAT studio to the new high school and the expected large output of limited funds by WCAT to outfit said space, the board of directors feels that it is very important that WCAT has the exclusive lease agreement that ensures the long-term use of the studio in the new high school, as we do now. WCAT requests that the working group recommend a lease draft agreement between WCAT and the town that ensures that WCAT will retain long-term use of the current square footage allocated in the new high school architectural drawings. We would like to see it be a 20-year lease with renewability upon either WCAT or the town's request, and that the existing financial arrangement of an in-kind contribution of market rate rent for the facility from the town would continue to be reflected in that new operating lease. And then the second part of it was we are hoping that the working group recommendation to the Wakefield Town Council presented on June 2024 asserted the importance of sustaining WCAT's vibrant and valuable services to the residents and the businesses in Wakefield. We would like to request that the working group recommend to the town to develop an MOU agreement between the town of Wakefield and WCAT to enable WCAT to continue to provide services that the community has come to rely upon, such as town meeting, holiday celebrations, high school graduation, and a myriad of other elements. This programming that has been observed objectively as a great benefit to the community and programming which WCAT does go above and beyond to cover for the benefit of the residents of the town. This MOU would serve as the vehicle for future negotiations to maintain and ensure the continued functioning of WCAT and its relationship with the town of Wakefield. And then I was asked to remind that as part of this could be in the future, we see that this MOU, which acknowledges that both WCAT and the town does want this to continue, that this would be, that we'll work together if resources are needed to continue these services. This would be consistent with the working group's recommendations presented to the town council, which indicated the town should explore town funding options if needed in a manner similar to like gap insurance.
Okay, could you make sure that Steve and I each get a photocopy of that wording, please? All right. Any comments or questions on the paper? Go ahead.
Okay. First question to Steve is, this was done at one time in the past in the high school, do you have some?
Yeah, I mean,
Whether would this be something that Steve Mayo works up, or how does it come to pass?
I think we could. Do you have a lease now, by the way? No.
No, that was done strictly going back in history because I was on the board at the time. That was strictly an agreement between WCAT and the school committee at the time, back in 2000.
As I recall, and on my old addled brain, in an existing, a school that is used for educational purposes, which this would be, I do believe there is a requirement, or there was, that any lease agreement, which could be entered into, still needed to have the secretary or the Department of Education's blessing as well. I don't think would be a problem, frankly. I'm not so sure 20 years is that's a long time. 20 years is a long time. But I think that is something, and I'll talk to Tom Mullen about that. I think that concept could certainly be worked out. And I think that's the intent right now anyway. So,
Steve, is that something you could report on at the
yes,
next meeting?
I can.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
If not
I
before.
believe this came up with Tom Mullen at our last meeting, and he did mention a Massachusetts authority of some sort that needs to be either party to the lease or involved with a lease negotiation, similar to what you're describing, Steve. So I think that was may actually be in the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Second part is to pick up on the second part.
Yeah.
To say that, I think it's an open question as to whether, I think everything that Ian said is basically understood by the town council, probably, 7-0. It's all, everybody wants CAT to survive when and if that, assistance is necessary. But I don't know whether it's time. I think it may be premature to get into the MOU, but that's just one person's thoughts.
Well, we're what, 2 years away from the move?
I think there's a difference between the lease and the MOU. The lease
Okay.
is one thing, which we are 2 years away from.
So if I could, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the MOU is just so that we have a framework in place that will then allow for future negotiations easily and efficiently between the town and the organization.
Ian, could you please speak up?
Sorry, the MOU is for to make a framework so that in future years we can have negotiations based on whatever is going on at that time. Just seamlessly go instead of having to stop and get everything sorted out. This is something that a number of stations have started to do, so that they all understand where everything is supposed to be and what the expectations are between both groups.
From the board's perspective, I just would like to say that this working committee has been fantastic, and as we know, we're going to be seeing some changes to the working committee going forward. And in some form or fashion, we'd like to be able to memorialize the concepts that we have agreed to. We certainly did make that a key element in the recommendations to town council from this committee. So we view this as just kind of the next step to memorialize and create a future framework for future discussions along these lines.
Just one practical consideration, Norm, that to keep in mind too is that we already have an agenda out for this meeting. And then, you know, for example, I have one more meeting after that. I never bring anything to the council if I can help it. For a vote expected the first time they're hearing about it. No, that's not the first time they're hearing about CAT, naturally. But it is the first time that they would be considering an MOU. So it may be that a future council would have to pick up on the actual vote. Just wanted to put that out there.
No, we fully understand.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we wrap up the work of this group, as chair, I'm going to have to make a report to town council on what the ultimate findings of the group are, correct?
I would assume
Correct.
so,
You're
yeah.
gonna have to deliver a
Yeah.
final report.
Is
yes.
that when we disband, in other words, or when
Yes.
we're about to
Yeah.
disband?
Yes.
Which I don't think we're doing tonight.
No,
No.
but I would like to see us complete this process by June. Because otherwise, too many current members are going to be gone and we will virtually be starting over again. I'd like to see if we can somehow come to a final plan to present to the town by June to forestall that.
I hear you. I'm not
Okay.
gonna correct you because you're not wrong. There's no right or wrong.
Right,
here.
right.
This is how do we proceed? And I do think from a financial standpoint that, you know, it's premature for us to be considering recommending anything right now. You know, I think we've got to see what happens with the move through the high school.
And I don't disagree, and our final report may have nothing to do with that
Right.
at this stage, because that is,
To just have a recommendation to the town council to create an MOU framework, and that's, things
Right.
like that would be added in later as
Right.
needed.
and that may be part of our final report, because ultimately it won't be this group that makes the decision. It will be the town in concert with WCAT that makes the decision. We will recommend the course of action that we hope that both parties will follow. This is my understanding of our brief.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Okay.
For us, we would think that the first version of this between the town and WCAT would be nothing more than, this is what we're doing, and you're giving us the amount that's coming in from you. And then later on, if we all agree, not us here, but
Whomever's there.
yes,
Right.
the future
Right.
believes that something different needs to happen, at least now there is a continual framework that they can now engage
Right.
with.
We may recommend some actions as part of our final report. Whether those ultimately are decided by the town and WCAT are between the town and WCAT. I think our purpose is just to come up with a framework that both parties can work with and move on toward some mutual conclusion.
I just have a general question about Mike specifically. So worst case is you go through right up to the election, but the 14th is your targeted last date.
Right, because the 22nd is before the next meeting
Right,
in
so
April. Yeah.
Right.
does town council appoint someone else for the sake of discussion for the May and June meetings?
They could,
Because in some ways that'd be starting over just to get somebody new up to speed.
well, maybe I can, yeah, they could,
But
yes.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Can I? jump
Sure.
in? I had a couple
Go
of
ahead.
comments, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right,
no
so, I want to thank the committee because, you know, it gave me a lot more information than I had about WCAT and the numbers, so I thank everybody for that, that edification. I think we came into this, you know, thinking that there was a cliff. I think it's not a cliff, but we don't know if there isn't a cliff out there, but I think it's not as bad as we thought financially. I want to thank, and before I get into this, the town, on the other hand, is not in the best financial shape that it's ever been. You know, we have, seen unlimited needs. We are looking at a deficit, at least a projected deficit for, fiscal year 26. Based on everything that's coming in now. This is nothing new that those that are on FinCom haven't, heard before. State aid came in at a net of 1.6% over last year. Horrid. Maybe we get a little bit more in state aid. Maybe we get a little bit more in new growth. You know, maybe some other things happen. But it's not, you know, so the gap insurance is a tough ask right now. My long way of getting there. And I don't say you are asking for it, but I'm not so sure. I'm looking at this a little differently. Let me tell you what I did. I think that the chairman put this together that talks about first draft. I think it's a really good draft that could be massaged into a final report. And I think it's the real framework for that. And I think that the town, my own opinion, and I'll be out in the cheap sheet seats in a few months. But my own opinion is I think the town needs to think of WCAT as a 501c3 corporation. And I think WCAT has to think about itself that way too. I think it's a two, you know, edged sword that needs to work. There are certain statutory or contractual obligations that WCAT needs to cover and staff, town meeting sessions, town council sessions, town council meetings, school committee meetings. And that's it. As I read the contract, that's it. I think because of hybrid and everything, you know, it's easy that all these other meetings, whether it's a hearing on 40A, we can do that. WCAT doesn't need, and you're very gracious, and you always ask, you want us to cover it this, and I know what you're doing. You're trying to run around and do everything. You ran in here today trying to staff things that maybe you don't need to staff and do. I know what you're doing. I think it's great. It's great. And the committee has come to expect that. But I think we need to think of this in another way. I think that if people want to have events covered, and whether it's the 4th of July parade, or whether it's the ceremonies, whatever ceremonies we have, particularly ones that are on the weekends or at night, you know, during the weekdays, I think you're probably going to cover the white ribbon one tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. That's at least during the regular working day. So you got to still go out and set up, but at least that's it. But I think we need to think as a community and as a, you know, as the people that put on the events that, you know what, everybody else there is getting paid to cover that event. We're doing an event for the soldiers and sailors, okay? It's going to be a big event on May 31st. We're going to pay, the town is going to pay the sound system so the people that need help hearing can hear, okay? We do that at town meeting. We do the cart service at town meeting. So I think the town needs to think about that. 4th of July parade, every band that marches in the parade gets paid, okay? Why shouldn't WCAT get paid? They do a lot of fundraising, you know what, or a portion of it. And I think that this kind of talks about that a little bit in here. And I think we need to go to, you know, maybe getting a grant writer to help out with that, and maybe doing more. It's like the I don't know, the things they do on Channel 2, right? The phonathons or whatever.
Well, and that's
I
the
think-
model I
right,
built this
right.
on.
I think people
Yeah.
like the services of WCAT, but to pull it out of the tax levy right now is going to be tough. That's just my opinion as someone in the cheap seats.
And I can 100%
yeah.
agree with that. I think where it just becomes an education for the residents and for the organizations in the town is that we are not, I mean, every time we go places, more often than not, people says, oh, this is so great, the town must be so proud of you guys.
Oh, well, no, we are.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're saying it in that we're part of the town.
Yeah.
Cause they'll say, well, you know, you guys must be working all over the place, getting all over, I'm like, well, no, we're not part of the town.
Right.
You know, they're like, what? So it's been adopted by everybody that, no, we are part of the town.
Ian, can you speak up, please?
We are part of the town and the town organization to be there as a service for all of the groups in the town.
And
Which we're not.
yeah, and I actually think we could put this into a final report form and have it at a meeting, before everybody has to leave. Sorry, Mike, we'll pull you in for one more. You know,
So
if
we-
you want,
we
if
forgot
you
to
want,
tell
or it
you,
goes
you-
to,
Yeah,
or it goes to me.
you can't leave.
It's like the hotel telephone.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
We are looking towards
Yeah.
the future for ourselves as well.
Right.
We have started a number of work initiatives in conjunction with the chamber.
Yeah.
Where we are doing a lot of social media videos for businesses around town.
Fabulous.
And we're working on that. So we are putting all of these, we recognize that the town is in the situation that it's in. And that's why we say that this particular element of it may be for later when it becomes flush and we're not so. Things like that. And again, it's just one of those things so that it's in there and it can't be exercised by somebody who has
Right.
an opinion otherwise. So that would be the only reason why we would think to have that in there. And again, it's not necessarily a big point of contention, I don't think. But yeah, I agree with you that I would love to find a way to educate everybody and educate the organizations that, yeah, we are not. Well, I don't want to call it free service, but we come with an expense and it's an expense that we've been bearing and we no longer can.
Right.
And but the flip side of it is I hate not being able, I hate having to say no to people. When we've always done these things, but I mean, that may be the situation.
But at the end of the day, WCAT is a business.
Yes, yeah,
It's a nonprofit business, but it's still a business
Yes.
and it needs to be treated as such.
yes.
So,
So that's where we need to really start having a hard look at that and figuring like. What is going to be, again, what is the framework of what do we need to
Right.
handle, what should we be getting paid for? What the procedures are for these things like that.
And I'm relatively new, obviously, to this group as well, but I'm just curious too, is this what other towns are doing? Are they doing 501c3s or are they? Like, that's what I was gonna,
It's
is
a
every town's
majority-
different?
Yeah, the majority are 501c3s.
Okay.
There are some where the channels are split up between different organizations. There's several where teaching institutions have hold of it because the town can't or doesn't want it. One I could think of is Stonehill College as the public access, as the public station for New Bedford.
No.
But the New Bedford town government has the government station.
right.
And the educational is run by the school. But then there's like Shawshene Tech, I think, has the public and educational and government for one of the Blackstone Valley towns.
There are all sorts of variations and those of us years ago who attended the national conventions would hear about all these different things, you know, from time to time.
Yeah. And another example is that I believe it's Chelmsford is completely run by the town. They are a town department.
Oh, interesting.
Every single station is run by the town.
And then you have other situations like 1655 Studio in Gloucester, which came out of their access organization, but they now represent multiple towns, so they cover, I think if I remember right, Rockport, Ipswich, Manchester, and maybe Essex. So but they are a 501c3 in the model in which I've tried to outline here.
And
Okay.
Plymouth does the same thing with the towns surrounding it. There's
Yeah.
actually, I think, 12
Right,
towns that all got together.
right.
And
Well,
what-
Kevin
I think
brought
the key
that up.
issue, I think the key issue here is, yes, we have to treat our organization as a business, and I think you've seen from our financial management and our approach that we've taken that we do take that seriously.
Mhm.
Ultimately, I think a lot of the entities that we serve are nonprofits, certainly the school department, each of which I believe are may be challenged financially as time goes on. So I think one of the things we need to consider is whether one of the things that makes Wakefield unique is the community pride and activities that we promote and share with the community, and whether that's something that is valuable going forward for us to consider as, sorry, for us to keep in mind that, we would like to, as a town, to continue to have these events that tie the community together and celebrate important things that aren't necessarily our obligation to broadcast.
Right, but that's where getting grants and things come into play, just as in public broadcasting, is that would be how you would fund those otherwise unfundable projects. There's
I
still a
can- I
cost
can-
involved no matter what you do. You still have to have a way to support it somehow. Correct?
Agreed. I guess I'm just thinking of it more from the perspective that it would be, if in fact we all agree that the contribution that WCAT makes to the community is valuable for what makes Wakefield unique, it would be disappointing, in my opinion, for the 4th of July parade to say, we're really tight this year, we're not going to be able to afford to broadcast it, and we start to see some of these things just fall by the wayside, and we no longer have that value add that we have today in the community.
Well, that's where you would maybe go out and find third-party support like PBS does for different projects. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, if you don't have the money to do it, you don't have the money to do it. Correct?
Correct. So for high school sports is something that I think we got a good report from Brian on, the activity level there. It seems to be one of the more popular items. And how realistic would it be for any gap between what we can generate from sponsors and the cost of the program, of the events, to potentially fall by the wayside because the school says, I'm sorry, we don't have the funding for that, as an example.
How would the school have funded it if they were still operating their channel?
Well, they are still operating their channel.
No,
And-
WCAT is doing that coverage.
Right, on our public channel.
Right. They used to be wholly responsible for sports, for school events, for graduation in their budget. Their
Correct.
1/3 that they get from the access from the cable providers. That was all part of paying for those services that they were originally responsible for, that have
Right.
fallen by the wayside,
Yes, because those funds have been utilized for teaching positions.
which is legally what they're not supposed to be doing.
So at the end of the day, in order for us to continue to provide this broadcast service of sports to the community, the school department would be asked to fund it, and perhaps would come back and say, we don't have the money to do that. Sponsorships could, as I said, perhaps pick up one of the sports like football, but some of the other sports might fall by the wayside. So we step back and say, is that an outcome? Is that an unintended outcome that we would be comfortable with an approach like this? I think that's just something we have to think about.
What do they charge to get into a football game today?
Not much. Yeah,
Not much?
I don't think it's that much.
But they do charge to get into a
There's a
football
nom-
game.
At least for students, there is a nominal charge.
Do they charge for basketball games and such?
Yeah.
Depending on,
They don't do it for volleyball, they're too small. I don't know whether they do it for hockey or not, I can't remember.
I think they probably, I think they probably do.
But for the most part, it's not much at all.
It's 5 to $10.
Right.
Yeah.
And whatever.
For students at
Yeah, the
least.
Yeah.
students are less than the parent, even the parent wages, maybe $7, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I
don't
think
know.
for some of them, it's only the, you know, trying to charge, the other ones they don't.
Well, where does that money, what does that money go into? Because it doesn't go into the school budget,
Goes
correct?
into the athletic
Yeah.
revolving
It
fund.
does.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
Alright.
use for buying uniforms and stuff, my understanding.
okay.
I just have one quick comment based on comments you made, Steve, and just to back up just a little bit. The bill filed last year that got rewritten originally said 20% to the general fund, 40% to each municipality, 40% to the paying stations. The fact that that bill got rewritten and the fact that we're where we are now, as Steve mentioned, for what funds are coming to the town,
Mm-hmm,
what funds are coming to Massachusetts, what funds aren't going anywhere anymore.
mm-hmm,
You know, when we advocated for that bill, it was because everybody was sharing in the streaming fees.
right.
So I think maybe, and I want to think about it before I ask you to really do it, Steve, but maybe one of the things that you could do from a comment period time, when it goes to the joint committee, the town could possibly say, look, you know, we need WCAT. They provide a valuable service. We're not gonna be in a position, the way things are going now, to be able to do anything. It's important that this thing get passed. Some amount of money is better than no amount.
Mm-hmm,
And do it that way. The only thing, you know, obviously you gotta be careful, I mean, you're writing on the out of town. So you gotta be careful about that, honestly, but, it would just be a different slant on, I mean, obviously CAT is gonna advocate for it because we need the money. But, it's, if somebody has to pay in the long run, why shouldn't it be the streamers? You know?
Right, no,
So
I
just-
agree.
Just something to think about from a, you know, when public testimony gets filed, when it goes to the committee hearing, it might be helpful to have that kind of.
Do we even know when that's gonna be, or you have a sense?
No, but.
they
what I
just got the
understand-
numbers last week.
What I think they're trying to do, part of the thing about the rules change, again, I know you guys gotta go, but part of the thing about the rules change is. They wanna get these things out of the joint committee in the first year of the session.
Okay,
Not
instead
the
of the
second
second,
session.
okay,
And that way they know it's out, that gives them more time to work at it, to coordinate the difference between bills if they have to, or what the joint committee did. So the goal is to be able to, you know, get the public hearing, maybe in June. Maybe, July and August isn't gonna happen, but it would be this year, the public hearing, as opposed to the beginning session. Then you run up against the, you know, the final day to do stuff, and it's usually February something, and that's how come everything gets compressed and then dropped. So, again, they can't even agree on what the rules should be. Between the House and the Senate, so it's hard to tell, but that was the intent behind it, was to say, as I said to David earlier tonight, you know, one of the nice things would be if they had to show the votes in the joint committee about who voted, which they never have to do.
yeah, oh, yeah,
You never know who's talking
Yeah.
about not voting. But anyway, I think anything that the town might be able to provide, saying, you know, in order to keep this service, it's important that, you know, this thing gets taken care of. Anyway,
Yeah.
just a thought, thanks.
Yeah, between that Mass Municipal Association, places like that, this is what Mass Access has asked us to now start talking to.
Mm-hmm,
To get all of these groups to start
mm-hmm,
leveraging
Yep.
into the politics.
mm-hmm,
But yeah, I mean, I just want to make it clear that all we want to do is to get a recommendation for an MOU. I'm not looking for anything to be put in it, that can come later.
mm-hmm,
But I really would like to have a
The
structure. I would really like to
Yeah.
have the structure
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
recommended so that we can start working on this as we go along.
mm-hmm. Okay. All right, and that's something we can certainly put in for the next meeting within the outline. Okay, all
I
right,
think the next meeting, if you want, we could draft a final report for everybody to look at, based on this and based on everybody's comments.
I think we could do that, yes, I think we could do that.
And by we, I mean, we, it wasn't, and we send it out. I'm
Yeah.
not- and-
No, no. You and I can sit down and draft it and have it ready to start reviewing.
If that's
because
okay, I don't want to jump the gun. I just
As,
think,
as I say.
you know, you
you
started it, you want this thing done and
Yeah.
gone and I'm
My,
happy. to-
my goal is
Make it
to,
happen.
is to present the town with something by June at the latest. Because there are going to be so many personnel changes on this committee and we would virtually have to start from scratch.
And I think it would be a much simpler and straightforward for it to be us and, or me and Steve, or WCAT in the town. And now we can actually look at everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And you can start to create what essentially amounts to a contract.
Well, get a structure first and the contract follows.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
I will say this, I do think it is important that WCAT as a 501c3 remains independent. And I know there are other communities where the town runs the, and you know, there are always rumors about shenanigans that went on about coverage of meetings and how it was presented and things get lost and there's like a lot of that, you know.
Yeah, and we are definitely in the same boat on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the independence is important.
Oh, and yes. Media should always be independent.
Exactly.
All right. So we will go with that and we will have a draft document for the next meeting.
Okay, and then the rental lease.
Steve will look.
Yeah, I'll look into that and well, I think that should go into the draft document. I don't think we'll have that lease done. But we'll be
No,
working
but
on
the
it.
fact that
Yeah,
it
it should be in the document.
it
If you
should be
you
part
read
of the
from
plan.
something, if you can give me a copy of that or send it to me so I can, yeah.
Yeah, no, that should definitely be in the plan, just not
Right.
final wording.
I would have sent it earlier to you, but we just literally this afternoon.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I can't read
Um,
my notes after
move-
on my own.
moving on. Approval of minutes, motion on, can either be single motions or
You can
a
do them
dual
both.
motion.
You can do a dual motion if you want. It doesn't need to
anyone
be
wanna
roll
move?
call.
I'll move to accept the minutes of January 15th, 2025 and May 22nd, 2024. Second.
All in favor?
Roll call
Aye.
because you have somebody on.
Ah,
Yes.
Okay, Steve,
Aye.
okay,
I
Gil?
I was not at one meeting, so I was at the May of 2024 meeting.
Yeah,
I'll say aye, and I'll
Okay.
abstain for the.
okay,
second.
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye. Aye.
And I'll say aye for the meeting I was at as well.
okay,
Okay.
okay, all right, then we're set. Any other group comments? I'll go around the table, Steve,
No, I've said quite enough.
all right, Bill,
Just real quick, we did the cable TV enterprise budget with the town council and the finance committee on March 10th and March 14th. Reviewed it with Ian and Paul.
yeah,
I think everyone was on board with it. Unfortunately, revenues are going down. The capital money is starting to dry up. Got the last payment in from Verizon. Other than that, that's about it.
okay, Amy? Paul?
I just want to thank Mike and Steve for their great contribution to this committee. I think we've accomplished a lot and appreciate your input and guidance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian? Okay, Michael?
Just also thanks to Norm for all the work he's done. And a thanks to the chair and a thanks to all the committee members for everything that we've gotten accomplished.
It's been a really good committee and just appreciate everyone's efforts. Shane?
I came in late, but I'll take the thanks.
See, you gotta solve this, you gotta solve the finish line.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for that.
Dave,
Next,
if I might,
yeah.
I just want to thank everybody, as everybody else says, for WCAT itself. It is good to know that you guys do have our backs. We do as much work as we are capable of to make sure that the town has everything that it needs with regards to this. So we thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Next meeting date, could I suggest April 16th, which is also town administrator report day? How does that look
Thursday.
for everyone? Or we have the 9th or the 30th. The 23rd is school vacation that week.
16th.
I have a conflict on the 16th, but the 9th and the 23rd are okay.
You can't do the 16th, Paul?
No, unfortunately, I've got a conflict that day.
23rd is the best for me. That can make the 16th.
23rd is a school vacation week. So I'm avoiding that one because there are people with
We don't go
kids.
anywhere, so.
16th works for me.
I can
Okay.
make it.
And again, same time, 6 to 7, I
Yeah.
presume, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes we go a little later.
No, that's fine.
We
Like,
try
that
not
works.
to.
I can do that. It's just probably not earlier.
Luckily, I think we're at the stage now where we won't be going beyond an hour.
But Paul has a conflict the 16th or.
Paul,
This
you
is-
said you have a conflict the 16th?
Unfortunately, I do have a film session. I can't move that day, but I could do the 30th or the 9th.
Not here in the 9th.
I can't
do
do
And the
9th
30th
either.
is after you.
Don't we have something on the ninth?
I'm sorry, Ian.
I said, don't we have something on the ninth? Aren't we meeting with
Um,
Americans?
I don't have it on, I don't have anything on my calendar. We've got a board meeting on the 17th.
Yeah, I know that. Thought we were meeting with, what's her name from Ameriprise?
Do you want to be at the next meeting?
Oh, you're right.
You know,
You're right,
15th,
Ian.
maybe?
Need to have it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm not available the 30th either.
Right. But
All right.
Have to be
I was just gonna say.
how
could we
about the
do it
15th?
How about the 15th?
Tax day. Let's see.
15th is fine for me.
All right, Tuesday, the 15th it is
Can you
then.
do it, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Be the 14th, 15th. I'm sorry. Gonna bleed him dry, the poor guy.
15th.
15, 16,
15,
17.
and we will put together a draft to present.
Yes,
that
we will
night.
have it and we'll have it out as quick as
Absolutely,
we
we'll
can.
have it out in Govenda ahead of time.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
So 4:15,
Okay,
6 PM.
anything else? Anyone?
yeah.
No? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
All right.
All
Aye.
opposed? We have adjourned. Thank you, everyone.